Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you for joining today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. And you're based on the East Coast?
Yes, I'm in New York.
Oh, New York City, wonderful place.
Yeah. It's good.
Are you originally born there, or did you move there?
No, I moved here quite a few years ago. Um, I was born in Utah, Salt Lake
Okay,
City, Utah. Yeah. And then moved just kind of all around and then somehow made my way in New York.
nice, nice. Yeah, New York City is awesome. I know there's a lot of things going on with the in the world today, so it's a little bit different now. But when it's up and running at 100%, it's one of the best places in the whole world.
Yeah, it really is. It's pretty crazy and anything can happen. So,
Of course, of course.
yeah.
Well, again, I do want to thank you again for joining Movie Junk. For those of you that aren't familiar with Kenadi, rising star, who actually starred alongside one of my favorite all-time actors, John Ashton. From Beverly Hills Cop, Midnight Run, in the movie Once Upon a River, and you play Margot.
Yes, I do.
And I had the privilege of seeing Once Upon a River. And this is directed by Haroula Rose, and she directed, wrote the script, and I believe the soundtrack as well too, right?
Yes. She did work on the soundtrack with many other collaborating artists as well.
And and what I've been, before I had a chance of seeing Once Upon a River, it's often referred to as Huckleberry Finn meets Deliverance, which is two
Yeah.
classic. But for the fans that haven't seen Once Upon a River, do you mind just kind of sharing what it's about?
Yeah, it's set in the 70s and it's about a young native woman, um 15, embarking on a journey once some things happen in her family, embarking on a journey to go find her mother. And along the way, she finds unexpected friendships, and some hardships along the way and some challenges. But it's like a road trip
Yeah.
movie, but on the river in a boat. There's lots of action. It's very outdoorsy. And yeah, I think it to sum it up, it's about finding yourself. It's about friendship. It's about um, letting people live the way they want to live. That is a big message throughout the entire story. It's based on a book, on a novel by Bonnie Jo Campbell.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so that was something that she put throughout it as well.
And this is your first major film role.
Yes, it was.
How did you find yourself in the role? Is this something that was kind of like an open audition, or how did you find yourself in this role?
Yeah, so I have a backstage account and Actors Access, which we submit for auditions and everything if you're an actor. And I actually got an email from someone who was helping out Harula, and she was like, "Hey, we would love if you auditioned." So I auditioned, I sent it in, and I, of course, being an actor, thought it was terrible. um, but I sent it in anyways, being like, okay. And weirdly, I heard back almost an hour later, from Harula and them, and they were like, "Oh, the director loves you, and she's gonna come out to New York like in a few weeks, like, or maybe next week, and um, are you available? She wants to meet you and do a screen test and everything." And I thought it was a hoax. I was like, man, this sounds like a joke. This is like, I don't know, something bad's gonna happen. But I went anyways. I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's see what happens. I'll text people where my, you know, location is, and it turned out fine, as you can see. So it was really good.
Yeah, no, I mean that just sounds like a just an all-time great Hollywood story. One thing that I noticed from your role is just how strong you were and how you portrayed this. You were a young girl. I mean, I think you were 16. portraying it for someone that was 16 years old, and just, you're so strong. Even the guys were intimidated by you. You know how to use a gun. You were just, so much, so experienced, out there, on the river, and just you're as a viewer, you're kind of sad because of, how quick this young girl kind of needed to mature. But at heart, she was still a young girl. You know what I mean? She still was learning and exploring new things, and didn't know. I mean, I don't want to spoil it. I feel like I'll say the whole movie, but yeah, I was just so impressed, with how well you did. And when I researched you that this was your first film role, I was like, man, what a good job. It was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I also think that's something that's within all of us, that's why I connected to this story so much, is because I think we all kind of, there's that day or that moment where we just kind of switch, where you just have to grow up, and you grow up. But then I also think, and we forget this a lot, that there's still that little kid still within us that is still learning and growing, and we continue developing and growing, but we're always still that little kid inside that's kind of scared and terrified and needs a hug and needs, your family and things like that too.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And as far as, working alongside, John Ashton, was that, what was that experience like? And I'm sure you probably have a ton of stories, but was there anything that you learned from him?
Man, John Ashton, he's become a pretty good friend of mine now. I consider him a mentor too, because on the set, he's just like this amazing actor who's been around forever, and I'm very green and new, and this was my first set that I had ever been on. And so to work with him was such an honor, and I learned so much. I mean, the ease that he had too, of just like kind of stepping into this role. But not only that, I mean, he showed up day one, ready to work. He was in character already. And that was something that was so fascinating. I don't know if he told you this story, but he showed up and he was like, I have something to show you guys. And he showed Haroula, and he like turned around and his teeth were all missing. Because in the movie, his teeth are all gone.
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to see an actor so dedicated that they would push back, I don't know, a dental surgery for so long, because he was like, oh, this is perfect. um, and it's funny because we talk now, and it's like, yeah, sometimes I realize, and I'll be thinking, and I'm like, man, I'm really smoke right now. And it was really interesting because it's pretty hard for us to shake off these characters. I think they changed us for the better, but they changed us after we got off set too. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because, like for me, growing up, I've been a Beverly Hills Cop fan, Midnight Run, Little Big, all these movies that he's known for, where he's so different from the Smoke character. And
Yes.
a lot of times, like with actors, some of the best work that they've done are these independent films, theater work that they do, where a lot of fans don't really get a chance to see them in that element, because it feels like the actor kind of has more flexibility, and they can kind of just be themselves in these types of roles. And it was just, I wanted to see, just that relationship that Smoke and Margot had. It was just so good. And when I was interviewing him, he was just so passionate about this movie that, he's like, you have to see it, and tell me what you think. And as soon as I got done watching it, I sent him, a review of what I thought. And he's like, see, I told you were going to like it. And it was just awesome, because it was something that I've never seen. And John Ashton plays this character named Smoke, he's kind of like a hermit on the river, and it's just so different compared to what we're seeing. And he's usually a kind of a loudmouth and kind of an aggressor in his movies, usually beating somebody up. And to see him so caring, and I personally, and again, I don't want to say too much about the movie, but I just felt like Margot, got so developed a lot of internal strength after having someone like a Smoke. And it was just that parental figure that she didn't really have, not even from her father. We learned from her
Yes.
mother, and it felt like she also helped Smoke grow as well too. But yeah, it was just an awesome movie, and yeah, as soon as I was done watching, I was like, man, this was awesome. So glad to have seen it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time to do that as well. And for having me here and talking to John and yeah, and really just enjoying the movie.
Are you still exploring other roles as well? Are you doing any auditions for anything in the works?
Yeah, it's a little hard right now with everything going on, but yes, I have a few projects. I can't talk about some of them, but I'm also during the pandemic and everything and during lockdown, I decided to kind of put things on pause a little bit.
Yeah.
After, to be honest, after this movie with Margot, I became really kind of quiet and reserved, and Margot really sat with me for a really long time, and then just like personal things happened. So then I was like, I need to take a break and really figure me out again, because I felt like I had kind of lost the way there. And as an actor, I think it's really important that you know yourself before you can ever step into another role. And that was something that I kind of talked to John and Haroula. They're both really good mentors to me now. I talked to them about that, and I really believe that is that you have to know yourself to step into these roles. And so that's what I did during the pandemic. And now, yes, I'm out there. I'm trying to audition and working on some small projects here and there. But then I also found myself writing. I'm working on a few scripts, which is exciting. I'm a pretty terrible writer, but we're working at it, and we'll see what happens.
No, that's awesome, and that kind of jumped into my next question. Is kind of how did the pandemic make you stronger? How did your life change after kind of being a star in a movie? And no, definitely, having those resources, having John as a mentor, and Harula, she has some wonderful movies under her project, and she's been in the industry for a little while. Definitely some good resources. And me personally, I mean, as soon as I was done watching Once Upon a River, I was like, I want to see what else she's in. And so I'm excited to see your upcoming projects, and I'm sure once fans see it as well, they're going to want to see you as well too.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. First part, how did life change? The pandemic. I mean, it's been pretty. I think that I did a lot of growth there, and I mean, a lot has changed. I think I explored more different artistic realms. I also watched
Yeah.
tons of films that I had never seen. I wasn't
Right.
really a movie buff, to be honest. I know that's going to sound like blasphemy to you.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that.
But yeah, so I really started getting into watching more films that I'd never seen and neglected to watch. And so I did that. I actually moved. But I'm sorry, what were the other parts of the question?
Oh yeah, no, just how did the movie, and again, you kind of touched on this already. Kind of how did the movie kind of change your life, and it definitely, it seems like it inspired you to kind of work on your own artistic strengths, and picking up writing. And you
Mhm.
mentioned that you've been watching a lot more movies and TV shows. What are some of your favorite TV shows that you're binge watching right now?
Oh no, that's an embarrassing question. Um, TV shows that I'm watching right now. Well, okay, so I'm watching Twin Peaks because I never seen Twin Peaks. So I'm watching Twin Peaks right now because that one was up there. Um, I was talking to someone about a few of the actors from the 100, so I picked that up, started watching that.
Nice.
Um, I really like watching documentaries. I'm going to be honest, I'm still slacking on my movie and TV show game. I'm really into reading books and plays. I grew up in the theater, so that's pretty much my wheelhouse. So right now, I'm watching all of the Alfred Hitchcock movies.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, trying to, I don't know, diversify. And a lot of Wes Anderson right now too.
Oh, nice. So did you, as far as, when you were growing up, were there any, actors or actresses that inspired you? Were there any movies that kind of changed you kind of growing up? And, I like how you're kind of going back to some of the legends of writing and directing, but are there any inspirations that you had growing up?
Yes. So actually, I'm a big fan of Tom Hardy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Peaky,
I don't.
Peaky Blinders?
Sorry.
Peaky Blinders?
Yes, Peaky Blinders, but I'm a big fan of his like smaller films that he's done and everything. I find him really interesting because he tends to do a lot of um, based on true stories of like, people and historical people in Europe or in England, and he portrays these people who were terrible.
Yeah.
Um, some of them were like serial killers and things like that. And the movies are he brings sympathy and empathy to these kind of evil people that we would just see or you'd read about in a newspaper, or the stories are their killers or something like that. And he brings such like I said, empathy and compassion to those characters that I don't know. When I was a kid, I really enjoyed watching him. I still really enjoy watching him because a lot of, that's a hard thing to do as an actor, is to step into a role of someone who's so, I don't know how, I don't know. I couldn't step, I mean, I definitely would love to try, but to step into a role of someone who once was living as an actual person who did some pretty terrible things, it's, I don't know. And for it to not be a comedy either, which is what we usually see, I find that in art in itself. And so that's something that I really like about Tom Hardy. And when I was a kid, I really wanted to do that. I really wanted to bring empathy and compassion to the stage and to the screen.
Yeah, he plays the villain a lot in his movies, and TV shows, and in Peaky Blinders he's Alfie, and then he's also in Legend where he plays the twin brothers, and
Yeah.
and even when he was Bane, in The Dark Knight Rises,
Yeah.
there's always this empathy in all of his roles, even though his guys are bad guys, but there's always some scene or some facial expression or something that he does where you feel sorry for him at some point. And
Hmm.
it's very hard to be multi-dimensional, when you're playing a villain where you kind of feel sorry for the villain. I'm always feel like I'm rooting for him at some point in all of his movies, even if he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
You're kind of rooting for him. Yeah, he's one of my all-time favorites, and everything that he does just turns into gold. And yeah, he's one of those unique guys. Like even in the Revenant when he was with Leo, just a
Hmm.
terrible guy. But like if you put yourself in his shoes, you figure his own motivations and what he's trying to do. Like you kind of start rooting for him too. But then you're like, hey, it's Leo he's going up against, and you like Leo too. So um, it's amazing how he has that ability to do that. It just shows you how talented of an actor he is.
Yeah. One of my favorites of his is Bronson, Charles Bronson. Have you seen that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoy that one. I don't know, that one's pretty crazy. And I don't know, that one's kind of twisting and turning, and he's very crazy, but also there's something really reserved about him in some of the scenes and things like that. Yeah, that one I really enjoyed as well.
And you mentioned also that you picked up writing kind of during this time as well, and that was one of the things that from doing these interviews, a lot of the actors that I asked, kind of what are some of the things that they're doing, hobbies, as far as ways to keep them busy during this time, and a lot of them were saying that they picked up writing, and they're saying that it's going to be really interesting in a few years from now, the content that we're going to get, because you got all these creative people kind of logged down, and you know what I mean, they're just probably doing a lot of writing during this time. I think the content that we're going to get in the years to come is going to be amazing. But as far as the skill and the technique of writing, did you get any training on that, or are you kind of just writing what's in the heart and kind of taking it from there?
Um, I was gonna say no, but actually I did receive training um, in my high school. So I went to an arts high school in Jacksonville, Florida, Douglas Anderson School of the Arts, and there we had to take playwriting class. So I took that, and I didn't think that I was very good at all, but it was a really fun and exciting class. And then when I went to conservatory, we took quite a few classes where we had to write some scripts where they showed us how a screenplay would be written, and then we had to write like little web series, um, and that was a lot of fun. And so I learned how to write a script and everything, but to write in multiple voices and not sound like the same person, I find very difficult. Um, Very difficult. And I don't, and to structure it and to see the beginning and the end and the middle, but it's all coming to you at random different times. I think that's it's a skill that you really have to work at. And then also to be able to trust yourself and to know, like, okay, when to leave things out and when to put them in. And I find that I write out too much, whereas in real life we don't say everything, but in writing I'm like saying everything, and the characters are talking too much. So I have a little bit of training, but I'm really working through. Um, Honestly, right now I'm just kind of throwing it on the page, seeing what happens, and then getting feedback from people who are reading it and everything like that, and just taking workshops here and there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Myself in another world. I actually took on acting as a young kid. I did it for a very short period of time. I can probably find my headshots somewhere when I was like 7. But I've also had a passion for screenwriting as well. So I've written a few projects, and one book that actually helped me was actually this guy, screenwriting this book. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this, but this book was awesome. It really helped me with just learning the format of how to write, and just being able to write in different voices, how to jump in time and then come back, and how to just
Yeah.
all kinds of different things. And there's so many different dimensions to writing, but a lot of times we overthink it. Actually, I met the writer of the movie The Martian, the one with Matt Damon.
Yeah.
And he had a T-shirt that said, "Stop thinking about it and write it." And that was just a motivation for me. And this was someone that I actually used to work with. He was just someone at my job who just,
Oh,
while I
wow.
was working, was writing, and turned the Martian into a book. And the book got picked up. I want to say it was by Ridley Scott, if I'm not mistaken. And then it got picked up into a movie. So a lot of times we got to stop thinking about it and just write it
Yeah. Yeah. And I think way too much.
on there. And is there a specific genre that you like to write, or is it just kind of whatever is in the heart at the time?
It's actually kind of weird. I really like I really like absurd plays, and so when I started writing, it kind of turned into a comedy, but one of those really quiet, strange comedies. Because it was a web series, so I kind of tested it out as a web series as well, and just showed it to a select few people and like small audiences to see what happened. And some of them didn't know whether to laugh or to take it seriously because it was so kind of dry and serious. But it was, so I don't know. I'm experimenting because it's kind of, I'm not good at comedy. I'm not, as an actor, comedy is not my forte. I don't know if you've seen Once Upon a River, but you could
There,
imagine.
there was some funny stuff in there.
Yeah, there, like a little bit, yes. I think we got to smile a few times.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, so comedy is not normally my forte, but I found myself writing more comedic scripts and characters, but it's pretty dry and pretty serious comedy.
Yeah, I'd like to, if you ever give me a chance, I'd like to read some of the stuff that you think that was enough to throw away. I'd love to read it just to see kind of what goes on in an actor's mind, and give you my feedback. But no, that's great. I mean, I definitely, if the more movies that you get on and you start working with more writers and more actors, and I'm sure there's more inspirations that are going to come on. It's only going to get better from there. So I wouldn't stop. I would keep at it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm definitely going to try.
Awesome. I do want to be respectful of your time. I know you're on the East Coast, and I can keep asking a ton of questions. I do want to thank you again for joining Movie Junk today. Definitely, I know you mentioned there's some projects that you can't share, but once those come out and after they're on the big screen, love to have you back on again and continue seeing you being a rising star. It's an honor of mine to have you on, and just watching you on TV the other day, and then now we're meeting. It's amazing.
No, thank you. It's really an honor being here. Thank you for asking me to have a conversation.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, you too. Bye. Thank you.